Hello, and welcome to another episode of the High Achieving Female Podcast powered by No. It's your host, Sarah Ben-Kinfishi, and I am so excited to introduce you to yet another one of the 50 fastest women-owned and led businesses presented by JPMorgan Chase and Women's President Organization. Today, you're going to meet Dionne Baker of DeeBee's Organics. She is the founder, the CEO, and the mom behind this amazing popsicle gelato Italian ice brand that can be found in every single Costco in America. I cannot wait for you to meet her, hear her story, and get a little bit of the advice that she's sharing on this episode. Enjoy. Welcome to the High Achieving Female Podcast powered by No, where we believe high achieving female leaders deserve to be known. Here, you're going to get the tips, tools, and inspiration you need to network, grow, scale, and balance your business, career, and life. This is a special series of the High Achieving Female Podcast powered by No, where you'll get up close and personal with the winners of the 50 fastest women-owned and led companies in America, as presented by WPO and JPMorgan Chase. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited for today's episode. You are going to meet the one, the only Dionne Baker with DeeBee's Organics. Dionne, thanks so much for being here. Welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me, Sarah.
I'm really excited to talk to you today because you are one of our 50 fastest women-owned and led companies, according to WPO and JPMorgan Chase. And we actually met at the forum, and I loved our conversation so much. So I'm so excited that we're able to continue the conversation here and introduce you to our listeners of the High Achieving Female Podcast. So I have to say, I want to just, celebrate you and all of the things that you are doing. We were talking offline a few minutes ago, and you're celebrating your 10th year anniversary this year with DeeBee's Organics.
That's right. It's hard to believe that we're at 10 years. I just can't believe how much has changed in my family DeeBee's and all over. So yeah,
I love this. And I have to say, when we say there's no such thing as an overnight success, it's so true. And I say this all of the time. So I kind of want to get into a little bit about your backstory and where you were and where you are, and maybe do some full circle moments of here we are at 10 years later. So for those of you who are not familiar with DeeBee's Organics, let me just tell you that she is the healthy version of the Freezy Pop, the gelato, and the Italian ice. All organic, all natural, found in Costco's, in every Costco in America. And this is why I love a product, because I'm so interested in the food science part. And I love that you're creating a product that's healthy, right?
Yeah, well, that's, I have a PhD in maternal fetal toxicology, and that's how this all really kind of got started, about how I would feed my own children. And and it's kind of grown from that. And my philosophy was, buy something I would feed my own children. And it is the same today, with no additives, just pure organic fruit.
I love that. So you started in 2013 with popsicles.
That's right.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how you conceptualize DeeBee's. First of all, where did the name come from?
So it stands for Dionne Baker, or it could be my son, David Baker, but one of us, DeeBee's. And it was really an idea that my children had. So it bloomed from that.
Did you, so you had mentioned that you were a stay-at-home mom and for, at least part of your career. And so this concept came about as you were kind of taking care of the kiddos and realizing that, maybe you could create a creation for them. Is that how it happened?
Well, actually, I was finishing my PhD. So I was training to be a medical scientist with a specialty in an area called maternal fetal toxicology. And I was really careful about what I fed my own children. And one day I was in the kitchen with my two kids, and one of them was making tea and the other making popsicles, and they were arguing over who was going to do what with mom. And one said, "Mommy, let's make teasicles." And it kind of triggered my mind into a whole idea, just kind of literally a light bulb moment where I was like, wow, oh my God, I could create a company, show them what it means to create a company with a heart and a soul, and then also make delicious, organic, fruit-based treats. And it really evolved from that. And we first started with frozen novelties, which is really tough. Then we got out of that completely when our super fruit freezies went huge in 2017, conceptualized really in 2016, and stopped making frozen and went big time into creating a whole new category and freeze at home. So it was exciting.
I love that. And so, when you started the brand, I have to ask you, like, what was the goal in mind? I mean, we talked about revenue in the first year and where you're at now, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. But what was the goal? Was it to create this leading brand across the Americas and to like be a household name? What was it? Like, what did you launched for the kids? But tell me a little bit more about what you were thinking when you were launching.
Well, I guess I am a personal driver. And so I kind of had multiple visions, but one of them was I wanted to create something that was better for you, with the backbone of my children as my barometer. Would I be proud of building this? And could I teach my children every step of the way, from how we do things finance wise, operations wise, production wise, marketing wise, every single thing about who we are? My barometer was, would I be proud to tell my kids about this? And it's really led me until today. And I do check in with them sometimes. And sometimes we have hard conversations. But I did visualize, I'm a driver. I drive myself to be the best. And one of the drivers that I've always had, and I heard early on, is if you can actually disrupt and start a whole new category in the grocery channel, that is like you've won it. And then you drive that category. And that's what we did. We created an entirely new category, freeze at home treats in the natural organic world. And we own that category at about 80 to 90%, including BJ's, Sam's Club, whole, Costco, everyone involved, and e-commerce. So it's kind of, I never stop pushing myself, which is maybe a good thing and a bad thing.
That's
really
incredible.
hard.
Wow. Okay. So you mentioned that you're in all of the Costco's in America. How did that happen? And how long did it take you for those of the women listening that maybe have a product-based business or interested in going into retail? Talk a little bit about how that story kind of evolved. And you started with the frozen popsicles, and then, got into Costco. How I think that's what a lot of people are interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually talk to a lot of female founders who are starting out, and I always say, be careful. Start slow. And it's not only like, it wasn't, Costco came to us early on and we really went methodically with them, but we also built with our partners like Sam's Club we're really close with, and BJ's and Kroger and Walmart and many of the other retailers and all the natural retailers and Wegmans and all over the US and Canada. And so you really want to be careful to grow methodically and be able to manufacture enough product to come through with what you want. And you can run into times where demand is so high and you're struggling and you want to be really, really careful. And even this year we had challenges with that. So, but we were able to come through and give everybody what they needed. So you want to be very careful and don't be pulled in by a dangling carrot too early. It's better to grow crop cautiously, make sure you succeed in a small level, medium, and then go boom and go big. And you have to have, I talk about the spokes on a bike. And if you can imagine going on a bicycle, you need to have every spoke on the bike straight. If you imagine every department as a spoke on that bike, then have the people in there that can straighten those spokes when they bend, because they will. And you need people to come together to make things happen. So you just want to be cautious about growing. It sounds cliche, but you don't want to get big, too fast, because then you're going to fail and really have a hard time getting back up.
I love that you said that. And I think that that's so important. And that goes back to the whole, like, it's not an overnight success. You can't find true success and being like wildly, wildly profitable overnight. So if you're growing too fast, a lot of times what we have to do is kind of pull back and iterate and iterate and iterate. And I have to ask you too. So the branding and the products that you have now, the actual packaging, is this the original, or have you redone or refined or iterated? And if so, how many times?
So there are parts that are very similar, but this past year in 2023, on our 10-year anniversary, was the first refresh, rebrand. We've tweaked things along the way, of course, but it remained pretty consistent until this year. And we brought on incredible people on our marketing team and operations and production who helped us with this whole rebrand refresh and our colorful world, which we launched this year. So this was a really cool 10-year anniversary for us. A lot of stuff changed and we really grew up. We went from toddlerhood to, full adult childhood, adolescence. So
I love
this
that.
was a big year.
And so your kids kind of grew up in this. How old are they now?
I still can't believe it. I mean, every single day. They're 19 and 21.
Oh my
They were
God.
really 8 and 10 in 2012, when we had kind of the idea came to be. And we get to market in 2013, there were 9 and 11. And I just, oh my God, how did that happen?
They had probably such a big say in, like, when you were building this. How much of a say do they have in it now? Are they in the business? Are they working with you? Do they want to work with you? Tell me about that.
They're always involved. They're not on the team per se, because we've always encouraged them to work hard. There's no free ride. And we've never had to ever ask them to do homework, to work on their studies. They always just knew this is what you do in life. And so we've encouraged them to chart their own path. They're very much involved in innovation. Our son, who's hoping to go to medical school, but he's in sciences now, and he's built an entrepreneurial career teaching kite surfing and building a photography business, and really supporting himself through university. And our daughter's doing the same in writing and computer sciences. And so I think we wanted to instill this idea that you have to do things ethically, honesty with integrity to support yourself. And that's always been a big driver for me with them.
I think that's so amazing. I love all of that. This episode of the High Achieving Female Podcast is brought to you by the Business Growth Academy. Growing a business can be overwhelming, confusing, and lonely. Time and financial freedom feel hard to achieve, but it doesn't have to be that way. Vanessa Shaw is the go-to business coach and mentor for ambitious women who are ready to be the real CEO and scale their business to enjoy more money, more impact, and more freedom. If you want to free up at least one day a week, at a minimum of 6 figures in new business, and pay yourself more, reach out to her at businessgrowthacademy.com to chat about scaling without sacrificing what's most important to you. Now back to the show. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about where you are headed to next. So what is the big goal? What's the big plan? You started this thing, annual revenue, as I asked you, you're about $20,000 in the first year, which was really probably a big deal in the very first year, creating something from scratch. Till now, 10 years later, you're somewhere in the $50 to $100 million range projected this year. Like, that's pretty amazing in 10 years. Where are you going now? Where do you really want to be? What's the next goal for you?
Well, I would love to be the highest revenue female-led brand in North America, definitely in Canada. So that's kind of my personal goal, and to build out the powerhouse team that we have, empower them, and also to really be leading with, we have a dream launcher and our colorful world, which is all about inclusivity, giving, and really helping make dreams of giving come true. And so as we've grown DeeBee's, I've also been growing this dream launcher and colorful world perspective. So those go hand in hand for me, and something that I hope will be a legacy going forward.
I love that. Let's talk a little bit about that, because there is so much meaning behind your brand, or as it has evolved. Talk a little bit about this mission that you're on, and educating and helping to, like, bring awareness.
Well, our philosophy and our culture is one where everybody is cherished, welcomed, and encouraged to be their authentic self. And we embrace everybody that way, and in fact encourage people to join who want to be a part of that culture. In fact, if you don't want to be a part of that culture, it probably isn't the place for you, because I love people feeling like they can truly be who they are. And I've encouraged that for our own children, and it's become part of our mission as well. And then the dream of giving was born out of the idea when I first started. My husband grew up with a single mom. He put himself through medicine and he became a physician. And he really backed me as I started dreaming about DeeBee's. And I always envisioned that one day he would be able to step back from his practice and join Orbis, which is a flying eye hospital, and because he's an eye surgeon, and go to different parts of the world to do volunteer work and help the blind see again, or remove a big cancer from behind someone's eye. And I always said the day he steps foot on the Orbis plane is the day that I know DeeBee's has truly arrived. And so we're working, he's going to be doing that in his future. And then that really spilled over into our whole team. And so I talk about Eddie. I talked about this actually when I was on the Today Show. Our sales manager, he called me and he called me, I think it was a year or 2 years ago. Oh my gosh, now. And he said, Dionne, I'm calling you because I've had the toughest call. My cousin called me and said her 13-year-old daughter was diagnosed with sarcoma, and I was like, oh my God! And he and I cried, and then and talked, and I said, Eddie, this is the platform, and this is why I started Dream Launcher, DeeBee's Dream Launcher. Call and find out anything she wants, whatever it is. And he called me back. He said she wants to rent the whole movie theater and have all her friends together to celebrate. And I was like, are you kidding me? Done. Like, that is just the easiest solution. I think it was a little over a year ago. And I said, Eddie, let's make it happen. And then the movie theater rented her a limousine to pick up all her friends. And she had the celebration of her lifetime. And,
Wow.
And that was the last time she was with all her friends before she passed away. And, that's the heart. And Jessica and I, her mom and I, connected after I was on the Today Show again. And I'd love to, in our future, be able to start a pediatric oncology ward in her honor. And this is what's been my
That's what this is all about. Yeah.
soul. Yeah, it's what it's all about. And so that drives me, to be honest. That means so much to me personally.
Well, you know what? I think that's why I really wanted to talk about this on our podcast today, because sometimes we see the brands and we don't really get up close and personal with the founders. And how incredible is it to learn about your mission to, grant dreams for people, and to be so ultra inclusive that it's part of your statement, and to the point where you said, look, if you don't believe that, then we don't really need you, like that's so critical. And that's what drives sales, but that also is what keeps you sleeping at night. And I'm a firm believer that when we are blessed and in any way, whether it be through success or financial or revenue or whatever it is, it's really our duty to create a give back. And you've done that. So I think that is so amazing. And congrats to you for keeping that at the forefront of this, because it's more than just, a popsicle or a freezy pop or a gelato or, an Italian ice. There's real impact that's happening through every sale.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there's so much, today I was just talking about Kids Sport Victoria, and we're going to donate freezies to them. And there's so much that give meaning to what we do. And I've never kind of used it as a marketing tool, because for me, it's about culture and it's about meaning, it's about heart and soul. And I think a lot of brands, try and kind of grab onto something. And for us, even that colorful world and inclusivity and the rainbow, we get some pushback on that. Like, that people, see that as not positive. And, I feel like it's a time and an opportunity to take a stand and counter kind of the darkness that we have in our world today with some positivity for the next generation.
Absolutely. I love that so much, so much. So I have to ask you, you started with yourself as your sole person. You're up to 40 people on your team now. Um, for maybe those ambitious women that are really, really focused on getting to the next level, maybe they're making their first hire or trying to figure out how to build their team. What was your first hire and why? Like, what was the first thing you
Yeah.
sourced?
Well, it was funny because I was telling my personal trainer at the time, we were out doing a workout, and I was like, oh, God, I've had this idea. I'm going to get it started. And she was like, oh, I'll help. I'd love to help. And then we also had a caregiver for my kids say, I want to help. And so we really were kind of in the kitchen together, working things out. They'd help a little bit when they could. And and nobody really came on full time for quite a while. And I really learned every single thing, like you name it, I did it in early days, including, self-funding
Yeah.
in early days, which was really, really, really hard.
And you
So,
started this in your kitchen.
yep, started it in my kitchen, and in fact, bumped into a neighbor who said, so do you still make these in your kitchen? And I was like, okay, we need a few 100 million tubes of freezies. Nope. It's not in my kitchen. At least not the kitchen I live in. Nope.
What did that trajectory look like? So you started in your kitchen, then did you move into like a commercial kitchen, or did you go straight into like production and manufacturing?
No, it was exactly like you said. We were moved into a commercial kitchen, and we were making the popsicles ourselves at that time. And then we moved into a small factory we partnered with. And then when we went into started making the first organic freezies, then we were already working with a partner that had a larger factory, and now it's grown very big. Where we've got 2 factories going.
Wow. Um, okay, so if anyone was to go out, they haven't tasted DeeBee's, and they're going out, what is the number one thing and flavor that they should absolutely purchase and try first?
Oh, geez, that's a tough one because I love them. It's funny because I think we almost have like a cult following around our new gelato pops. It's
Oh,
crazy. And in fact, so many moms have been messaging us saying, I actually I have to tell you, I hoard the lime gelato for themselves. So, um, but I honestly, our biggest seller is our original superfruit freezies, and that's what's in all the Sam's Club and Costco and BJ's and many of the retailers. But my personal favorite
uh-huh.
is our superfruit freezy tropical. And it's the pineapple coconut, and it kind of tastes like a pina colada. We have something
Ooh.
similar as well in the gelato one. But yeah, I just like love that flavor. And for me, I wanted to call it a pina colada, and they were like, Dionne, this is a kid's product. You can't call it a pina colada. I'm like, but it tastes like that.
Oh my
So
gosh, that's great. I mean, I can totally like envision a cocktail blend or something. I mean, you could have it for the kids, but then you could also do something really fun for some mommy treats too.
yeah, well, we were shocked to discover that half of our consumers are people, like adults. So, we've created it for families, but really serendipitously, it's just become for everyone in the family.
Oh, that's so
So,
great.
yeah, it's cool.
That is
Yeah.
so great. So I think I want to ask you this one last question, and then I'm going to invite you to come to our summit and join us on stage. We host an annual summit here in April of every year, and I definitely want to get you here on stage because I feel like we can just keep this conversation going. And plus, I just love your
I'd
soul.
love that.
Um,
Thank you.
so my last question for you is, and this is for all the hustlers, the ambitious women out here who are really, really on the scene, grinding day in and day out. What is one piece of advice, and no pressure here, what is one piece of advice that you would give to them because it really works for you?
I would say keep holding on. It is so hard early days. I don't think people really realize how tough it is. Hold on, surround yourself with people that you can call when times are tough. And you always have people you can celebrate with, but have people around you can call and cry to if you need to. I don't know how many times I cried in my pillow or I phoned somebody and broke down, and I needed that. I needed that to keep me going, because you got to have the grit to cry your eyes out one night, wake up the next day, turn over the pillow, and it's dry on the other side, and it's a new day, and keep going forward. And I think that got me through the tough times, and I think it helps anybody through anything. It's not just entrepreneurship. It's whatever you're battling. It's not the challenge you face. It's how you're going to face the challenge.
Yeah.
And let yourself cry, but then get up and move forward the next day. One foot and put it in front of the other.
That's so amazing. I mean, I couldn't have said it better. Dionne, thank you so much for being with us. Like I said, we're just cracking the surface here. And if anyone is interested in following you, they can find you on Instagram and LinkedIn, I'm assuming. Of course, you're in the Costco's and the Sam's Clubs and major retailers across North America. Any final pieces of advice or words?
No, just keep on going and keep on doing what you're doing, Sarah. I love this. I've had so much fun talking to you, and I would love to come and share the stage with you and some others in the spring.
I love that. And I'll follow up with you soon on all of that. Everyone, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the High Achieving Female Podcast. I'm so excited to have you meet Dionne Baker with DeeBee's Organics and get out there and go taste some Freezy Pops. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the High Achieving Female Podcast, powered by No, where we believe it's time for high achieving women like you to be seen, heard, and recognized. Until next time, remember, you deserve to be known.